Desmond, Mr. Lee Yock Suan has been, the image of Mr. Lee Yock Suan is very much of a prudent and careful image when dealing with matters. How, if you are elected, how would you think that your style would be different from him?
Well, I think it's important to remember that it's my personal decision. I myself think of myself as a careful person. Details are important, but also the broad brush approach to issues. So I think each person is different. My father has got his way of doing things. I have my own style. But I like to think that it's in the interest of Singaporeans for their political representatives to be prudent, to be careful, because what is at stake is Singapore's future, not just our own. Yeah, thank you.
Will you be staying in Temasek Holdings after elections?
I just joined Temasek Holdings on 1st of March. I think that question may worry my employers. I'm adapting well to the new job, and that's where I will stay.
Do you aspire to hold political office?
As I said earlier, I'm a political newbie, an unknown, and I think it's important to remain grounded, your feet on the ground, your head on your shoulders. My sole priority now is, if elected, take care of residents. There are a lot of local issues which are important to people on the ground, affects their lives. So that really is my key priority. I have no ambition to political office. It's not for me to decide.
Okay.
Thank you.
Desmond, where are you attached to? Which grassroots?
They move people around. So currently, I think you all have reported that I'm in Jurong Central. I'm there to learn the ropes, to understand how grassroots works. But as to where I'll stand, your guess is as good as mine.
So currently Jurong Central is...
Yes.
But you have been with Tanjong Pagar as well, right?
I was with Tanjong Pagar Citizens Consultative Committee and Active Aging Committee, where I've learned a great deal. Yeah. Because the Tanjong Pagar has also a fairly sizable population of the elderly, and Active Aging Committee we push out projects to try to bring elderly out to get socially engaged, to exercise, get physical exercise, and also to do health screening. So I think it's a worthwhile cause, the wellness program that is led by Minister Lim Boon Heng, and I'm very fortunate to be in Jurong Central, learning from one of the most established wellness programs in Singapore.
You were involved in the review of the Criminal Procedure Code.
Yes.
Now, some MPs as well as lawyers have brought up issues that they have with the new code and changes that they felt should have been made but weren't. For example, how quickly after you are detained can you see your lawyer, and how long interrogations can be, as well as whether confessions made when a person is drunk, whether that should be thrown out. Do you have views on this, especially the point on being able to see your lawyer shortly after you are detained?
Okay. Let me just preface my remarks by saying that when I was involved in the review of the CPC as a civil servant, the key decisions that are taken by the ministers, by cabinet, not by me. But if you ask me for my personal views, I think the points you've raised, what were they? The first is the right for
See a lawyer.
access to counsel.
Yeah.
Let me deal with that first. I think we need to recognize that what kind of criminal justice system do we want? We want to keep our streets safe. We want people to feel confident when they go around, walk around, they don't feel afraid. And that means we must have a criminal justice system that works. When I mean works, it means that the guilty get convicted and the innocent go free as soon as possible. And I think the fundamental point is that our police force has to be clean, professional, and when they do their investigations, they must be given the necessary space to find out the truth. Access to counsel is given, it's constitutionally guaranteed, and it's normally accused persons have access to their lawyers pretty soon. The statistics, you can ask the Ministry of Home Affairs, but my recollection is that most are given access to counsel very quickly.
You are the first member of the legal fraternity. Well, you graduated from NUS Law, so you arguably the first PAP new face from the legal fraternity. So I'm going to throw out another hotly contentious legal subject, and that is the abolishment of 377A. Hari Kumar said in Parliament during the debate that it doesn't make sense to have a law that is not enforced on the books. Do you have a view on this?
377A is a hot topic, but my view is that it is the status quo is a reflection of a compromise, because our society is diverse. A society that comprises both people who are conservative, people who hold family values and moral values, or even religious values close to their heart. There are also Singaporeans who are more liberal, who believe that they should have the right to live the way they want to live. And I think, having listened to the debate, I agree with the government position that let's try to be as open and inclusive a society as possible. And therefore, I think it strikes a balance that 377A states the position of what I think would be the majority in Singapore, but at the same time, the prosecution approach, or the enforcement approach, takes into account the need to respect what goes on behind closed doors in private. So I don't think there's a contradiction in terms.
Right. If I can bring in the death penalty as well, do you see the death penalty being abolished in your lifetime, or at least being circumscribed, especially the point on mandatory death penalty for certain offences?
My personal view is, and I think it reflects the pragmatism of Singapore's governance style, that nothing is a sacred cow. But I think the death penalty serves an important purpose in keeping Singapore safe from hardened criminals, from those who commit the most serious offences. It kept us safe from the menace of drugs. But all things said, I think in Singapore we never take anything as dogmatic as dogma. So whether I'll see the death penalty abolished in my lifetime, I really cannot say. But for now, I think it works well. But what is important is that the system must be fair, it must be absolutely transparent, and it has been so. Thank you.
Can I ask a question about career as well? You have been involved in the CPC review and a few of the legal restructuring work back at the scene. What do you think is a trade-off what's the trade-off like now that you're entering politics, you're actually giving up all those that you have been practicing earlier? Do you think it's a trade-off, or what difference would you see in yourself in the work there?
I don't see it as a trade-off. I see it as a continuation of public service. As a civil servant, you contribute day after day to the well-being of Singaporeans. You contribute in your own way to ensuring that policies and the details of implementation of policies are sound. But as a potential member of parliament, if I'm elected, I think we play a different role, but also in line with public service. And that is really to be on the ground day after day, to understand the concerns of people and to reflect those concerns to the senior politicians, to the civil servants as well, so that they make sound and good policies that benefit Singaporeans.
So a lot of young voters think that the pace of political liberalisation here is too slow. What is your view on that?
Political liberalisation. I think the pace is determined by Singaporeans. Singaporeans reflect their views, and I think we move at a pace which takes into account the fact that Singapore is a small and vulnerable place, where I think at base, good governance is critical to survival. Now, there are a lot of countries in the world which can undergo periods of poor governance. They can have periods where there is no government. I would name them. Some in Europe have had no government for months. There are some which can go through disaster and still bounce back because they have the strategic depth in terms of resources. They have agriculture, they have land, they have people, they have things they can dig up off the ground to export their way out of problems. We don't have that. So I think apart from people, apart from our resources in terms of people, the quality of our people, I think the quality of our governance is also a critical element to our success. So I think the pace of political change, I wouldn't say liberalisation, has to be dictated by Singaporeans, keeping in mind
that this is a matter of survival.
Well, one of the ways that Singaporeans express their views on political change and therefore dictate this pace that you're talking about is through protest and demonstration. But our laws on this are very restrictive, and you come from a legal background. Do you have views on this? Do you think our laws on protest maybe should be loosened a bit?
I think the avenues for Singaporeans to express their political views are all there, right? You can voice your opinion on the internet, and I think people have been quite open. Sometimes maybe language is a bit intemperate, but that's their right, and they make those views heard. People also make strong views through government portals to reach. MPS, you have people who come with very strong views about their problems or the problems of Singaporeans which they perceive needs correcting. So I think there are ample opportunities for people to make their views heard. It does not necessarily have to be, like in certain countries, a massive protest on the street which disrupts commerce, which disrupts people's livelihoods. We are a very small place. You've seen, I think, is it in one of the European capitals where they held a major meeting, they had to spend a lot of money putting barricades so that things don't get out of hand. I don't think this is good for Singapore.
Can you tell us about your hobbies?
Hobbies.
What do you do free time?
Well, if I'm particularly stressed and I need a break, I would 泡茶, 中国茶. That's something that I kind of picked up from my secondary 4 teacher, who was a major inspiration in my life. And making tea kind of forces you to slow down, because although the tea takes about only 2 seconds to power, but the act of drinking small cups at each time forces you to relax. I would encourage more young Singaporeans to take it up. It's very therapeutic. Other than that, occasionally I go for runs, partly to pass my IPPT, which is primary, but also to think, unwind, reflect on the day. I'm like most Singaporeans, I like to watch TV. Like, for example, every Sunday night, 超级星光大道 is my favorite show. I'm getting frivolous here, I'm so sorry, but yeah, that's it.
Can you tell us your strength and weakness that you thought of?
Strength and weakness. If it's a strength, I would say when work has to be done, I'm prepared to get my hands dirty. Work as a team, I see myself more as a team player than as a solo. I work better with people bouncing ideas off each other. Weaknesses, I'm very sentimental. Sometimes my sentimentalism can be, to people, to places. So that I think is a weakness.